calculate the half rule whenever the terrain changes. Always follow the half rule, even when working on gentle slopes. You may be tempted to exceed the half rule when grades are low. But if you exceed the half rule, you'll be designing a fall line trail that will erode. In cases where the hill slope is very steep, say 50%, applying the half rule would let you design a trail grade of up to 25%. But chances are, this grade is too steep and won't be sustainable. This is where the maximum sustainable grade comes into play. This is a site-specific evaluation of your soil, amount of rock, annual rainfall, and users. These factors will help determine a sustainable grade for your area. For example, trail grades can be steeper on solid rock, but dry soils require more gentle grades. Determining the maximum sustainable grade requires careful evaluation of these factors and years of trail building experience. When in doubt, design with conservative grades. As you lay out your trail, add slight ups and downs called grade reversals. Their purpose is to help water exit off the trail, so place them every 20 to 50 feet. To help include grade reversals in your design, look for natural depressions to provide that up and down motion. Also, look for obstacles that will force elevation changes, like curving up and around large trees or winding around boulders. Be creative. Grade reversals can really accentuate the thrill of the ride. Finally, a trail will last longer when it's built with a 5% outslope tread. This is where the outer edge of the tread tilts slightly downslope. Outsloping encourages water to sheet across and off your trail. In this section, you learned about 5 sustainable design elements for rolling contour trails: the 10% average guideline, the half rule, the maximum sustainable grade, grade reversals, and outslope tread. Each one helps water move across your trail, not down it. You've learned how to design a rolling contour trail, the most durable trail that can be built. But you may be saying, how am I ever going to get to the top of a steep and narrow hill using that 10% overall guideline? You're right, you can't if your trail goes in a straight line. Most contour trails require direction changes or turns to help them gain elevation at a sustainable grade. One way to gain elevation is the traditional switchback. Switchbacks zigzag up steep and narrow slopes, but can be difficult to build and maintain. Some riders find that the sharp turn interrupts the flow of their ride, while other riders come into the turn with too much speed, skidding around the corner, causing erosion. By scouting out less aggressive slopes, like 7%, you can use climbing turns instead of switchbacks. Climbing turns are wider curves on gentle hillsides. They are easier to build, more sustainable, and give bikes a wider radius to negotiate a smooth, controlled turn. The radius of the climbing turn needs to be about 20 feet, about 4 bike lengths. Place grade reversals at both the beginning and the end of the turn. Because the climbing section lies directly in the fall line, the grade reversal above the turn is very critical to keep water off the trail. To prevent shortcutting, wrap the turn around large trees or boulders. These features of climbing turns will give you a free-flowing and sustainable trail that's fun to ride. In this chapter, we will learn how to build a rolling contour trail with a full bench cut. First, we'll outline the trail tread with pin flags and then clear the corridor. Then we'll cut in a full bench, shape the back slope, and outslope the tread. Finally, we will demonstrate how to naturalize the construction zone. Before we begin, let's talk about safety. Sure, the bottom line is to get that trail built so you can go ride. But the last thing you want is someone getting hurt. Get everyone prepared for a safe, fun, and productive workday.
Finish the flag.
Call a safety meeting. Talk about job hazards, communications, and the emergency plan. When working out in the field, everything is a long ways away.
Use the tool.
Talk about using the right tool for the job, how to use them, and how to work safely around others.
One of the safety tips we talk about is what we call our circle of death. So if I'm standing here working on the trail, if I can hold my tool up and hit somebody, you're in my circle of death. Which means if someone's standing next to me with their tool, my circle of death is going to be even wider. So we want to make sure that we space each other out.
Everyone on your crew needs to wear gloves, a hard hat, and sturdy boots.
Did everybody get a chance to grab a drink before we actually began out on the trail?
Remind everyone to bring plenty of water and something to eat. Now, let's get to work. Earlier, you laid out your trail and flagged the corridor using the half rule and the maximum sustainable grade. Now, you need to outline the tread with pin flags. They'll give you a precise feel for the trail features and flow. Pin flags can be placed on either the uphill side, the downhill side, or in the center. Remember to tell the construction crew which you did. When outlining your tread with pin flags, use natural features to help create the experience. For less challenging trails, plan on removing obstacles, such as rocks and down logs, creating a smoother ride. For challenging trails, you'll want to route your trail to include larger rocks and down logs. Now, check the flow by running or walking the trail in both directions. You may need to make several adjustments before getting the flow just right. When the flow feels right, ask the local land manager for their stamp of approval before moving any dirt or cutting vegetation. Open up the corridor where the trail will go. Prune back limbs and bushes, but don't overdo it. Place the cut vegetation on the uphill side of the trail. Later on, we'll use them to disguise construction. Use a little creativity to add interest and variety. Leave small bushes or trees to constrict the corridor, slowing riders down. Leave arching vegetation to give your riders a closer connection with nature. A carefully trimmed corridor can accentuate turns, prevent trail widening, control speed, and give the trail its unique character. The trail has been laid out, the tread lined with pin flags, and the corridor opened up. It's time to dig the tread. There are two ways to cut in a trail: full bench and partial bench. A partial bench only cuts away part of the hillside. The removed soil is placed on the downhill side to complete the tread. A partial bench requires less digging, but doesn't hold up as well as a full bench because the fill material is soft and rarely compacts evenly. A full bench is constructed by cutting the full width of the tread into the hillside. This design is recommended because it creates a stable tread and requires less maintenance. Here's how to construct a full bench trail. First, remove the leaves, cut branches, then duff. Set them aside. You'll use these later to naturalize the construction zone. Next, dig down to mineral soil and keep digging until you have cut a full bench. Scatter the dirt downhill as far as possible to help preserve the natural look of the slope. In desert environments, however, plants will die if they're smothered with dirt. In these fragile places, dig the soil into the middle of the trail and haul it somewhere else.
The fill dirt that we're pulling out, we don't want to have on our outslope. We'll cut from our back slope down to the center, and then from our outslope to the center, we'll end up with a pile of dirt in the center, and then bucket that away. If we try and capture the dirt on the outslope, we're going to do a bunch of damage to the delicate vegetation.
Now that the tread has been cut into the side slope, let's shape the back slope so it transitions from the hillside onto the trail tread. The angle of the back slope depends on the steepness of the hill and soil cohesion. There are 3 critical places where you need to pay attention. 1. On top of the back slope. 2, where the backslope meets the trail tread, and 3, leaving the edge of the trail. Each of these must be smooth and rounded so that any water coming off the hillside will sheet across the trail. To finish the backslope, compact the soil with the back of a McLeod. Let's finish the trail by outsloping the tread. It is one key to sustainability and helps water continue to flow across your trail. Use a McLeod to cut in a 5% outslope. How do you know when you have 5%? The simplest way is to use a McLeod. On a flat trail, it will stand up straight. With an outslope tread, the McLeod will lean slightly downhill. This is what you want. If you prefer high-tech instruments, you can use a precise digital level. Now, compact the entire trail tread. When working in dry, dusty soils, adding water will help compact the surface. Don't leave compaction up to trail users. They will only compact the middle, allowing water to funnel down the trail, eroding away all your hard work. The trail has been cut in, it's compacted, and it looks ready to ride. But you're not done yet. You still need to disguise your construction.
Probably the most difficult part is just maintaining the natural look to the trail. I want, and we want, trails out here that look like they've always been here. I want someone to come through and not realize it was just constructed today. And that's quite a challenge, and that's where trucking the dirt around and really trying to be careful how you scatter it and taking your time replanting, even though some of that rehab stuff doesn't grow again, but at the very least you've naturalized it to the point where it looks like it's always been there.
Start by removing all your flagging. Cover up the broadcasted dirt with branches, leaves, and other material. Face the cut ends of branches and trees away from the trail so they aren't visible. Even sprinkle leaves and needles onto the trail for that aged look. Now that we've constructed a rolling contour trail, let's go ride. Armoring is a method used to harden sections of trail. Embedding rocks in the trail tread prevents soft, wet, or steep terrain from eroding. To start an armoring project, you'll need to stockpile rocks. Hopefully they aren't too far away. A rock sling or wheelbarrow can be helpful. And remember to lift with your legs when picking up rocks.